Okay, we got after church, 2:15, 26, 11:55 a.m. a.m., not p.m. All right, our total business minutes were for the last live stream. Let's do a little bit of math here. I got a calculator. Business minutes calculator that I created. All right. We started it at 8:49 a.m. 49 a.m. We ended it right when I got picked up, right at 9:30 a.m. Calculate minutes. It's 41 minutes. So that's for the last session. All right. Equipment used, MK2, signal flow, standard signal flow, engineering notes. We're just listening to the live stream. Let's I think I could play it. I think it'll play through the desktop audio. Let's see. I could just play the beat, but we're not going to do that. All right, we're going to click live. All right, yeah, it was 41 minutes and 29 seconds. Here we go. Yeah, it's not. But see, it's not showing it. Hang on. Yeah, it is. If you go on YouTube right now, it says gdotbennettmusic space live. Yeah, live. Oh, Amanda from church. Yeah, I just got
the shirts are in.
Yeah, we got our hoodies.
I'm coming definitely today. I will see you. I just talked to Josh, our driver. I ride the church bus, guys. I don't have a car, so, I Uber everywhere. Or get a ride. Yeah. Shout out to Jose, who has given me a lot of inspiration over the years.
3 views.
And I can say that now, over the years.
Yeah.
Longer than a year.
My stuff's getting views.
Driving me to work every day.
All right, bass
I
drum,
know I'm a
origin point.
I
Let's
have
talk
a lot
about
of
it.
Energy, and he deals with my manic episodes when I'm manic.
Bipolar,
especially.
let's talk about it.
Okay, so
Here we go.
We need to really back up here.
Here we go. All right, let me bring the desktop audio up so you can hear it. All right, that's coming through the system too.
Let's take that symbol out.
All right, let's sample this.
Yeah, see, it's late. But it works. You've had a rough week. What's going on, man?
I just found my stylist.
Well, we can talk about
Yeah.
it.
I asked God to help me find this thing, and He did. It was stuck to the
Prayer
MPC
time.
One Plus.
Coming live straight to you.
Right here. Nice. Now I can take notes
I
on
should say
my,
thank you
my
to him,
laptop. All right. I ordered one though, so I'll have two. You know, this thing hasn't been charged in a while. All right, we sampled that. But let's pause the video on YouTube. This was the live stream earlier. All right. That's really loud. Oh my God. I need to turn the samples down. Basically off. How do we edit that? Excuse me. Velocity. No. Okay, here we go. All right. It plays it so loud. It's like disgustingly loud. It's crazily loud. And I don't understand that. Because it's not mastered. I'm not mastering anything right now, guys. We're not doing that. But I want to show you this thing. Closer up. Maybe I gotta bring the computer. Hang on. All right, close up. That was cool. All right. I need to bring the computer even closer, but I can't. I need to have it up, like kind of off the bed. I can't have it connected to a tripod either. So I've got this light that I stand my laptop off of, because the camera that's on the laptop is pretty good. It's like 4K. If I wanted to stream in 4K, I could, but I'd be overloading the system. I don't want to do that. 1080p, that's all you get. Besides, I don't need the video, I need the audio. All right. Found the stylist. Hey, baby. Hey. Can you hear me? Honey. I found the stylist. Yeah. All right. Got my balls here. My balls, my nuts. Man, I spent $97, dude, on dinner last night. It was ridiculous. Man, these Mexicans know how to charge and cook. I was so full. Oh my God, Cosmel's is great, dude. They have this California burrito, dude. That was just, you can get chicken, steak, and shrimp with it, and you wrap that thing up. Oh, it's so good, dude. I mean, it's an authentic place, But if you want good food, you got to pay for good food, So, yeah. Why do cats like boxes? Why do cats like boxes? I don't understand. You get a box, like they like boxes. Cat. Church cat. Can you see the logo? It's so cool. Yeah. Bring the full tithe into the storehouse. People. Yeah, I did. This week I did. Because I could. I'm so blessed that I had to. I would feel bad if I didn't. Shout out to Ghost Energy. We love Ghost. I like the Welch's grape. I like anything grape flavored. So if you get me something for my birthday, send me Welch's grape Ghosts or the OG flavor. The OG flavor is really good. Okay, so the objective, let's get back to that. The objective for this new set is to continue session before church. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so we got the MPC playing samples from the live stream on YouTube, guys, which is really cool because it's like a big loop that we did. That needs to be a little bit longer. Hang on. We can't make it any longer. Yeah, we can. We got this. Let's do it. Let's play the loop that we got, though, to just break it down for you guys. Let's make sure it just barely gets there to Cliff. Red line. I like bass drones. Metronome going. All right, where do we come in at? We got a BPM of 143.6, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, know your role. Own your space. So we got the slap, slap, slap. We got the bump, bump, bump. Let's that hang on. Overwrite? No, we don't want to overwrite. No. SimKit to Pizzicato. All right, that's distorted, right? Sounds really cool. We're gonna turn it down a little bit though. Put the MPC down. Get your tempo right, guys. Step it up.
got a gain stage right, folks, too. We got a gain stage. Gain staging is so important in this study, in this science, guys, because I'm using the room as well with the monitor speaker and what? The Shure SM58. I put it in the middle of the room on the bed. Loop, right? Interesting, okay? It's called slicing, okay? 143.6 is the setup, right? For the MK2, which is over here, right? That's the main portion, okay, of loops that's going on right now. All right? Now, if I want to get crazy with this, right? Really want to get crazy with this, all I have to do is set the tempo right on the MK1, which is right here. All right? So I set the tempo right, and I turn on the slicer. Does that make sense? I'm going to get rid of these loops that are already in this on this machine. Now it's in sync. The tempos are in sync. You can see the lights blinking, right? It may not hit at the same time. Like if I go like this, right? 143.7, right? Excuse me, 143.6. They're going to be they're not going to drift, all right? It's what's called drifting. When you have two tempos playing two different tempos, music playing two different tempos at this, different times. That's why like DJs will go from one tempo song to the next tempo song, and it'll be in time, right? When they make a huge transition or a drop or something like that, then they can play other music at a different tempo, right? So they can kick it up a notch, if you will, and go from a slow tempo to a fast tempo. And it'll be off. But if they played something from that other track, it would be drifting. And you would hear it drift in and out. And it wouldn't be right. But if you set up both loopers at the same time and you're playing an analog system the way that I've got things set up, everything should be okay. If I hit start on here, right, it's not going to pick up what this looper is playing, right? It won't do that, right? And it's also, I believe, the way that I've got this set up, the MPC 1 Plus will play into this. So, if I got this done right, the samples are in time. Now we need to set the MPC up correctly. The tempo on the MPC, the global tempo on the MPC. It's 140 what? 143.6. Do it. So I've got the input effects playing, or the input effects capturing the MPC. All right, so it's slicing these up based on tempo. That slices the sample. If I got it over here correct too, at the same tempo, guys. So I'm teaching you something here. Set your tempos right. Get your tempo right. Get your timing down. Get your pocket in. I want to be in your ears. Let's go. this is 8 bars. But it didn't play 8 bars of the samples, so we gotta get rid of it. We gotta get rid of it. I need to play a full 8 bars on that track if I'm gonna use that track. Does that make sense? So I can't then play something that's 4 tracks over here. Right, or 4 beats. 4 beats per minute, guys, is the standard for this track. Because of the drone, the origin track. That's the origin track, guys. The drone, the bass drone. Let's talk about a drone. What is a drone? A drone is one note that's played octavely, usually, right? You can play it that way, you know what I mean? A drone doesn't have to be the same exact note, right? So you could have C3 and C4 playing at the same time. In this case, it'd be E, F, G. You hear the resonance? I can feel it in my foot. Oops. Don't want to mess that up. Yeah, never mess up your origin track, or record over it if you want, or overdub it. You can do that. Forget that this pedal, right? This pedal that I have that's down here, right, is set up to record track 1 when I tap it, right? So if I tap this, it's going to record what I play. You know? I got that set up the right way. Now I could, too, unplug that, put it into the MPC 1, and then do that, too, as well. But we're not going to do that. Signal flow, guys. So it sends a signal, right, via TS cable from the foot pedal to your thing. So that's really what you need is a TS cable. Tip, sleeve. Remember that, okay? If you're using a expression pedal, that's what you need. It probably would work with a TRS, but that's not what you're doing. You're sending one signal, right? So this isn't powered either. This device here does not have a power. It literally takes the TS cable, and somehow, I don't know what Boss did with this pedal, but they enabled it without battery to send a signal. I don't know how they did it. I really don't know. I'm not gonna ask that question because I don't really know how engineering works as far as that's concerned. I never really got into machine engineering. Music engineering I did, though. Drones. I have a song called Drone. You need to listen to that. Go on YouTube, gdotbennettmusic, okay? gdotbennettmusic, all one word. Look it up. Go on there. You'll see us on YouTube, right? You'll go on there and then you'll look up Drone, okay? Now, there's a gdotbennettmusic topic, right? Because I haven't switched it over yet. There's a lot of work I gotta do. But my tracks are out there off DistroKid. G.Bennett.Music. Look it up. It'll come up with a topic, and it'll show the album 9. Okay? And it'll be like, boom, right? Just go in, hit drone. Or if you hit drone, G.Bennett.Music, it'll take you there. But you'll see that's part of album 9. It was a really cool track, guys. I wanted to take take that back after we do this is sample some of that track on the MK1. have the MK2 playing the whole song, and then sample it using the MPC 1 Plus, and then put all new tracks down on it. That accompaniment, you know what I mean, to kind of like boost up the song a little bit. We could do that. Do it. Why I keep saying do it, right? On this, when you set it up to do something, right? Like change the tempo. Click the tempo. What was it? 143.6? 143.6. 143.06. Do it. Metronome. It's really hard to get the whole sample down, you know? So I'm making sure that the sample, the parts where the sample right at the beginning, you hear that slap. Yeah. All right. Now we're gonna 143.6. Let's go here. We're gonna go new track. We're gonna make a drum track. We're gonna browse, I believe, right? We're gonna go into splice. Okay. Right, and then we're gonna go by key. We're gonna go G. I think it's G minor. And there's only one sample, so. That sounds cool. I think it's G minor too, which is what I want. G minor, right? The key is G. Right? Is that G? Yeah. E, F, G, 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 E, F, G. So I always look at the spaces in between the notes. For whatever reason, the piano is set up that way. I don't play a lot of black key notes. I don't know why I don't. I think I shy away from it. It's something about my musical talent that you know, I see patterns. I hear patterns. I hear in patterns. Does that make sense? So hearing in a pattern, right? For me, because of my ADHD, my hearing goes in and out because I have an auditory processing issue. Yeah, and what? He's got a problem hearing? Like he's deaf? No, stupid. It has to do with my inner ear and the way that my mind perceives hearing. Okay? It's the connection between my ears. So the hardware doesn't work right. Does that make sense? So I'm messed up. I got bipolar 1 and I can't hear. You know? But I'm doing music and it helps me. It does. Guys, Don't ever stop chasing your dreams. Someone once told me that. Jimmy told me that this morning. He was like, dude, whoa, that's cool. You play piano? I learn how to play the guitar at one point. You know, he's going into it like Cheech. You know? Cheech and Chong. I want you guys to realize something. Is that we have a lot of combinations and a lot of options here. A lot of it. And it can become really complicated very quickly when you're looping fast, like I do. I can loop in at least 2 hours a full song, right? Loop. A full song loop that can be played as a full song in 2 hours. I did it on Swaggers. We're going to play Swaggers. We're going to think on what's going on here. So we got a piano, a bass drone, a piano, drone, playing an octave like way higher. Then we have another piano, right, which makes it tricky on the percussion. Then we got the kick and snare that are completely blown out. It's actually called blown on here. So I sampled Sean Hutchinson. Shout out to Sean Hutchinson for killing it on the drums, like the Led Zeppelin guy. What was his name? Oh, what was the Led Zeppelin drummer name is? Hit me in the chat. I can't remember him right now. It's on the tip of my tongue. John Bonham. Yeah, he hit the drums so hard sometimes you break them. He was a rock star. Awesome drummer, died I believe of alcoholism. Yeah, alcohol is no joke, guys. Stay away from it. So what I'm doing now, right, is that I can take certain tracks and turn them down and then play to certain tracks. It's tricky to get that it's in time. So it's late and then it hits. So that late snare is where I'm having an issue. I like the pizzicato, but we're gonna get rid of it. Let's make sure we have at least 5 on this, and then we're gonna go play Swaggers. glue things together somehow when you're doing music. You can glue things together. Percussion helps to glue or lubricate, if you will, your rhythm. Lubricating your rhythm with instruments. Okay? So, playing something like a crash cymbal. You don't want to crash, like the whole time, right? No, crashes are usually used like right at the end. You know what I mean? Compositionally. Your hi-hats lubricate. So here's lubrication. I don't like using cymbals. I don't. I think it's used hard, a lot. Let me talk about that. There was something I got upset about one time on one of my streams. Too many people, right? You hear music nowadays, right? Sounds like crickets having sex, guys. You know how they do that? Okay, let's go to a drum. Right? Say it's that. Okay. On the MPC, you've got note repeat. All you have to do is press a button, right? And it plays in tempo. Watch. So really all you're doing is pressing a button, right? But then all they're doing is hitting this section that's right here, right? Note repeat, watch. All right? And they're doing that all over their beat, right? And that's all it is. You know why they do that a lot of times is because they want to quantize their vocals over those hits, right? So if you got a tempo, they don't need to match it. They don't need to do anything. Just match it up, right? Because if dude's off on the vocal, by tempo, it's not going to matter anymore because all they got to do is cut everything up and then just cut and paste it right there. So everything matches up. A lot of music is done that way, nowadays. Tape, when you use tape, that's why these analog cats that were back in the day were the ones that could make music the right way. And that's why it sounded so good, because it was analog technology. It was tape, guys. It had less space. Digital has a lot of space. There's a lot of gaps between your MP3 and your WAV file. Believe it or not, if you think about it, you're just not hearing it. There's little steps that happen on a wave, right? On not a wave file, but on an actual sound wave, on an MP3, right? Then on analog technology, it was a straight curve. So you're missing data on your MP3s. That's why the file size is smaller and it was shareable. MP3s killed music because the data was smaller. Think about it. Your analog tape versus an MP3. An MP3 you could fit in microscopically, right? Boom. There you go. MP3. Bloop. Then you got your WAV file, which is bloop, right? Then you got your analog file. Hey guys. That's how I think about it, right? All right. So that was a good transition. Let's play Swaggers. Oh, phone is dead. Pick up the other phone. Where's the other phone? Where's my other phone? Oh, where'd I put it? I didn't drop it, did I? Oh, I left it in the van. No. Damn it. Josh, if you're listening, turn around the church van. He might be. Well, that makes me have to go to church on Wednesday. Ash Wednesday, guys. Oh, shout out to Christ Church. Own your space. Pastor Chip is genius, guys. He's very good at doing what he does because he's rooted in teaching. He's rooted in the word, right? And he's growing a tree, and this tree is huge. It's not like a small little bush. You know what I mean? Like some other churches. You know, this is a big tree. I love my church. I love the people that are there. Anybody ever needs prayer, let me know because I'm your guy. I'm not afraid of it. Prayer warrior. I should say a prayer right now. I said a prayer that I found my stylist, and I found one. That reminds me, I need to cancel my order with HP. Yeah, I'll get some money back. But that sucks. Everything's tied up. HP store. Boom. Boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. That's what I want it to sound like. I don't know why. Order. I need my glasses. My order support. HP. Oh my god. I had such a hard time on this. I gotta go on the computer to do it, and I'm not gonna kill the live stream. Okay. You know, I don't really care what you think of my music either. You know, that's another thing. You should care because you do. You know what I mean? I'm engaging people, so that's all that matters. All right, discount HP service order support. Check your order says request a return, request to cancel order. Yeah, we want to request to cancel order. Should you need to cancel recent orders, step 2 is you log in. I'm logged in. Okay. Go to your account. Orders. I found it, guys. Oh my god, I was so manic yesterday looking for it. I was like, how could I lose this thing? You know where it was? It was magnetically stuck to the MPC underneath. Yep. It was on the bed. I know that's where I left it. I kept looking at the bed, under the bed, in the sheets, in the crevices. I looked in the crevices behind this cabinet that I have right here. I looked on the shelf, everywhere, right? My bag, you know, everywhere where it wouldn't be. I looked in the other bedroom, ripped apart everything. I went manic yesterday looking for this thing. Literally, I had a manic episode. I needed to calm down. I slept last night, though, which is really good. You know, there's some nights I don't sleep. Yeah. I think the longest that I've gone is like 5 days without sleep, guys. I'll tell you, that's a journey. Bipolar is no joke. All orders. Here we go. HP 61. I paid $61.90. For this thing. Where is it? Oh, I lost it again. No, it's plugged in. Stylus. Yeah, I can do this. We'll do that again. In your face. All right, reorder. Print. It says processing. Get order help. It says processing. Category. Okay. Yeah, I paid a pretty penny for my laptop, guys. It's new one. It's one of those cool ones. Okay. Priority, right? I sent it priority. I got an instant discount of $25. Yep. Says by February 25th. You think I should keep it? Open. Return to how to. Well, I guess I could just return it. That's a pain in the butt. If I could stop the order right now. You know what? I don't think I can. It's still processing, though. So if I call HP tomorrow, because I won't be able to do it today. Oh, and this goes to my supplies expense, too. Business supplies. Omnibook HP. Done. We'll have a backup. It's cool. I'm going to keep the second one. If I want to do two at the same time, I can. Yeah, you know what's cool about this is? I think, right? No, it doesn't do that. You can't pinpoint stuff like this. Oh, I know why. My pen is not paired. Let me test this out. Meanwhile, listen to Swaggers. Swaggers by gdotbennettmusic. All right. The reason why I wrote Swaggers, guys, Swaggers is an evil emoji. Okay? He's the one eye emoji that says boop, right? But he doesn't say it like that. He says it more like boop, right? He's all about money. He likes diamonds, gold. He likes sunglasses. He's evil. This is his anthem. What'd you think? You know, you can do this find your pen. Really?
This
All right,
one goes out to
playing?
all the people
Smalls
out there that feel small and can't ever get up out of their funk or whatever they're in, and they need an anthem to get them going.
Let's go.
To make them feel resilient again.
Check, 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 check. Awesome, guys. My guitar, my vintage guitar is dope. It's so good. It sounds so good. It's so clean when it's tuned right. If I got new strings on her, I'd end shit around Statesville. Especially when it comes to guitar. What up, Southside? My phone. gdotbennettmusic. No, we're gonna play my mix. Here's Drone. All right, let's get on it. Otis McDoodle. I think I can promote him on YouTube. Copyright free. Besides, he told me that in a text message, which I have, that I could sample this song anytime I wanted. Best friends with him. He's a funk drummer, guys. Okay? A funk drummer, because he's rooted in funk. Jazz. Right? Alright, this part at the end I love. Chopping stuff up. Chop it up. Yeah, so what I did there, guys. Hang on. Shush, Joe. I sampled drone, right? I sampled my own track, but chopped it up on the pads, right? So what it does is, right? Let's teach you guys a little bit about the MPC. Okay, so I hit the sampler button, right? Right? Can you see that? The sample button, right? Brings up this display. Right? So sampling is recording, guys. You're recording on certain beats, okay? Slices of a song or whatever you're recording. Make sense? And it goes in time with how you press the pads. So, if you have a general tempo or if you know the beat, you can chop it up on the beat. And if you're not right there or right on it, you can actually like change it a little bit. Okay? There's also notes to pad on the MPC. You know, there's a way to do these things. An MPC was designed. Music Production Center. Okay? This is Akai's flagship model, I believe. Yeah. So I could chop my own voice up on this. Chop, chop. Chop, chop. Chop, chop. Chop, chop. Chop, chop. Chop, chop. Chop, 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 chop. Chop, 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 chop. Chop, 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 chop. I should do boop. Chop, chop. Yeah, let's do that. Hang on. I'll go sampler. Boop. 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 go back to drone real quick. Did that. I realized that the way that everything loops around in the system, I can actually like take a track and do that with it. There isn't a track that I'd like to do that more than this one. The Comeback by gdotbennettmusic. Yeah, that song is awesome. I gotta be careful that I don't play a song, right? Because I'm actually using my mix. That I play a song that I can't play on YouTube because I'll get kicked off. Gotta be careful. So we're gonna stop this song. But this song has two parts to it, right? It has the first try and then the second try, the comeback. Right? And it's the same thing, right? This song was written about me, okay? And how I never give up anything in my life. I only give up when it serves me better, okay? I've never cheated on a girl in my life. That is one thing that I'll never do. You guys gotta understand that. So, ladies, sorry, I'm taken. All right, almost did it. All right, that song was called Sinister. I wrote this one. Off the album 9, Sinister, ? So, the story goes, was the artifact actually evil? Or did it come to bring peace? Did it come to bring peace? Really? If resonance came to your ears and to your personal space that you didn't like, you wouldn't resonate with it. It'd bother you. It would seriously bother you. Right? That's why older people don't like people with those loud banging bass subs in the back of their car and they come down the street banging. They don't like it. What's funny though, because low frequencies people usually do like. So they would like an old 60s bass player rather than they would, like music from back in their generation. So over generations, frequency has changed. So the artifact has gathered all of this sound in the universe. Okay? That's its job, is to be resonance. We're going to play that. Yeah, let's get into it. Album 9.
Before time could be measured, before light had form, before the universe itself had structure, there was resonance. A single frequency, an eternal vibration rippling through the void beyond existence. It was neither created nor born. It was not a force, nor was it a being.
This is called
it
The
simply
Narrative.
was. And over immeasurable cycles of expansion and collapse, this primordial resonance became something more. Not just a sound, but an entity of vibration, an intelligence formed from pure frequency. It became the artifact. It drifted not through space, but through dimension, folding across thresholds of energy and time until it found what it was waiting for. A world capable of answering back. A world vibrating just near the edge of understanding. Earth. When the artifact arrived, it did not fall like a meteor. It did not blaze through the sky with flames. It descended in silence, breaking through the upper atmosphere with such immense precision that not even wind stirred in its wake. A vast spherical struct textured with panels of sound, keyboards, speakers, dials, switches, wires. Its surface a cathedral of sonic technology, foreign yet familiar. It hovered above the earth, motionless, massive, indifferent to fear.
That's
People
Bear.
looked up. Satellites trembled with interference. Communications staggered.
So cool.
Cities dimmed beneath its presence. Not because of an attack,
Here,
but because the artifact's arrival redefined the field itself,
Here, kitty.
rewriting magnetism, pulling everything toward its harmonic center. No one knew what it was. Scientists debated its composition. Spiritual leaders declared prophecy. The media panicked, prayed, dismissed, spiraled. But somewhere far from the towers and towers of voices, in a faded Motel 6 just beyond the edge of a nowhere town, a man didn't look up at all. He felt it. Glenn was not a prophet, not a savior, not even someone looking for contact. He was a creator, quiet, steady, listening long before the world was ready to hear. While others stared skyward, he sat surrounded by his tools. The room was dim. Thin yellow light seeped through motel blinds. He didn't see the artifact's descent. He heard it before anyone else. Not in thunder, but in rhythm. A low vibration. A change in the air. The loops he built began to respond in ways that weren't possible. Tones shifted just slightly off the grid, returning with harmonic overlays he hadn't played. A pulse in the silence between tracks, not distortion, not error, response. The artifact was not broadcasting, it was listening, and Glenn unknowingly had answered. It began to fold itself into his space, not physically, but energetically. Each chord became a corridor. Each layer became language, and somewhere far above the artifact pulsed with subtle light, its orbit stabilizing directly over the city where he sat. It was tuning to him. Glenn played, not to perform, not to prove, but because that was how he had always navigated the world. Sound was his compass, and now it had found its star. He played not louder, but deeper. The loops bent back toward him. His breathing matched the pulse of something ancient. The space around him shimmered, not with light, but pressure.
She just told you something about me. Okay? Sound is my compass. Okay? So, if I hear you crying, I'm not going to like it. I don't like when people cry around me. When I hear that sound, it drives me nuts. Only if, though, however, when I was raising my son up until he was 2, he cried, but he didn't cry a lot. He wasn't like, colicky. He definitely cried, when he was tired or hungry. But I got used to his sound. You know what I mean? And that the reason why I did was the first time that he came into this world, the first day that he came into this world from Camden's womb, all right? He cried out, and I heard him. I heard my baby's voice. It was the greatest sound I've ever heard in my entire life. So you get used to it, But if it's not your baby and it's ugly, because there are some ugly babies out there. Sorry, they might grow into look good and all that, but there's some ugly people out there too. Anyways, ugly babies. I hope you guys laugh sometimes when you watch these streams. So that was like the way that I did it. The way that I cut apart this sample. New sample 16. I've been sampling a lot on this track. Swag Monster Kit. So that's another thing too. He's an evil emoji, but he has a kit on the MPC 1 Plus. Yep. It's called the Swag Monster Kit. Okay. We got the first 4. I need to do this vocal chopping on one of my tracks that's new. This is okay. So, business purpose to continue the objective on equipment utilize MPC 1 Plus. Sample new and to sample new, what was it? 5, I think it was. No, 6. Memory slot 6. 06. Back into the loop. By using MPC 1 Plus. All right. That was before and after church. Okay. Activities performed. Engineering notes. Yeah, we need to put that in there. The sampler can be used to sample vocal chops. Boop was used on the live stream. Live stream to effectively increase tools when making loops. Loops. Okay. We need a business purpose for this particular session. This session, not the last session. So it's going to follow. So, yeah, what we did is we advertised music for my album 9, which is on Spotify, which is on Apple iTunes. Go ahead and grab it, guys. Grab the tracks. Hear how I made an album out of a motel room. Yes, an album. I think it has 16 songs on it. The album 9 does. Yep. Here, let me show you. I think I can do that. Add source. Not media source. Window capture, I think it is. There it is. Did we get it? Did we get it? I think we did. Yeah. All right, let's go back into YouTube. Here we go. Hang on. Let me get the mouse. Where's my mouse at? Let's scroll in there. All right. We got the narrative, the artifact, frequency, atmosphere, the knock, drone, foretold, deploy, warning, power, sinister, scattered, the takeover, 9, high, and sync. High is a really interesting track. What up, Southside, Statesville? G.Bennett.Music. This song, Sync, the bass is so low, guys. I really tried to master it as much as I could. However, be careful on your speakers. If you keep playing this song, it will cause damage. Resonance, guys. hear how? Okay. So I got the microphone, right? The monitor speaker. If the microphone and the monitor speaker go together, right? What happens? You hear that? That's feedback. Because sound travels. If I turn the gain up on the microphone, listen to what happens. Right? So resonance, okay? Because I studied it and I know what it does. Resonance is very key. We're not going to play that whole song. Resonance is very key in music. All right. So let's kill this window capture. Hey. Boop. I'm going to keep doing that. Boop, 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 all right. I am the boop master, the El Jefe of the boop. Okay? So the swag monster's got nothing on me. However, that evil emoji, right? Everybody's ego. It represents ego, right? So he uses your ego and your envy against you and your greediness. Okay? That's what Swaggers is all about. Yeah, the emoji. The song I wrote. Yeah, I had a really cool thought that day. It was like a comic book. All right, let's get back to something here, making music. Let's close this. We don't need the business minutes calculator yet. I hope you guys are enjoying these streams. You know? I love this business calculator because what it does is it brings up the end time and it picks the date and the time already, right when you go into it. So it's an HTML file that I created, okay, that brings up a web page, right, under my desktop, right, business underscore time underscore calculator dot HTML, all right. I wrote it so that I can go ahead and calculate the business minutes that I have. I can create a session log too, a CSV file. So what I'm going to do is, once I get far enough along, if you will, okay, I have session notes that are already on my computer, in my other phone. I have all of the records of everything that I did to make the music, and all I have to do is write stuff down and record it. Does that make sense? So I have all the tracks, right, saved on the MPC1 from 9, and other tracks too as well. So there was 22 tracks that I released on DistroKid, I believe. No, it was 21 tracks. It was since Drummer Man was released. Drummer Man was the first track that I released here in the new studio here at the house. Okay? Southside. All right. Uh-oh. Computer's going to die. How's my phone doing? Leviosa. You guys catch that Harry Potter reference, right? And no, I'm not a huge on Harry Potter. There are some people, dude, that are geeks on that. I don't know. I didn't like him after I heard that he became an alcoholic. Boop. I didn't like him. I don't know, there's something about it that bothered me. Something that bothered me. Guys, so we're live streaming the notes of me doing the live stream. So that's loopology for you. Whatever you do over and over and over again, you get better at. Make sense? So, I have done this over and over and over again. Really quick. You're not going to see much. Schedule C. All right? My Schedule C has a record of, and I'm not going to brag about it, but it's a huge number. Mr. Taxman, I'm coming for your money. Give me my money back. Yeah, the money that I spent making money. And I'll have the records to prove it. And I'll have new ones too as well. So if I get audited, the year coming forward. Doing business as DBA. We got that too as well. Yep. G.bennettmusic. So that's what I put on my Schedule C. Yep. What is it section? Section. It's not even a section. It just says name of proprietor. G.bennettmusic. And I'm not 100% sure that I can put that there. But as long as I have my social security number next to it, it lines up. Music production, live looping for distribution. You know what? We need to change that too. I didn't realize that. For distribution and live stream. Streaming. Live streaming. And live streaming. I think that's all I need to put on there because that's really all I do. For distribution and live streaming. Yeah. Because the live streaming is like more or less like an advertisement. So you can catch me making music all the time because that's what I do. You know what I mean? We talk about it. We talk about how I make music while I'm making music. That's a loop. If you do something while you're doing something, you're doing something big, I think. All right, let me get back on my phone real quick. All right, everybody, say a prayer for Josh. Yep. We're not going to talk about why he needs the prayer, but just say a prayer for him. The church van driver, bus driver. I call it a bus. Yeah, so let's talk about this. We also want to put on here, too, business purpose to advertise the new website. And advertise brand websites. G.bennettmusic. G. What? Bennett, my last name, music, like Tony Bennett. gdotbennettmusic.com. gdotbennettmusic. Music. Live, all one word, .com, which is of a specific date that went up and will go up finally through the DNS. There's what's called DNS propagation. So that's why you probably cannot see it on Google. It's only been out there for a certain period of time too as well. However, if the algorithm picks it up, it'll bring it up hopefully with my other website. What we want to do, hopefully, if we can finish this out, is have a live streaming website, g.bennettmusiclive.com. So you can actually go on and the live streaming from YouTube, okay? The live streaming from Twitch, all over the place, right? All at once. But you can go to this website and get it, you know what I mean, there too as well. g.bennettmusiclive.com. So if you go on that website now, right, there's a blog post. There's a blog post. Hang on. I want to read this to you. It's really important that I get this out there. g.bennettmusiclive.com. Okay. Story time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get intimate. Let's get really intimate, because when I put this together, right? Yeah, I use ChatGPT because I'm really bad at writing, but she puts together the concepts for me. Grounded signal, bipolar 1, comma, sobriety, comma, and the loopology system. A grounded signal, 2:15:26, 7:08 a.m. That was this morning. There was a time when my internal world felt like an overloaded signal chain. Too much gain, too much acceleration, too many channels open at once. And then without warning, everything would collapse into silence. Living with bipolar 1 disorder is not a poetic mood swing. It is amplitude. It is neurological intensity that can surge beyond moderation and then withdraw into stillness so deep it feels mechanical. For years, I mistook that volatility for personality. I treated the highs as proof that I was finally locked in, and the lows as proof that something was wrong with my character. It took me time to understand that what I was dealing with was not a lack of talent or a lack of will. It was the high voltage system operating without reliable routing. The energy itself was never the enemy. The absence of structure was. Bipolar 1 is often described in clinical terms manic episodes that can include reduced need for sleep, racing thoughts, elevated or irritable mood, impulsivity, and sometimes psychosis. Depressive episodes can include profound fatigue, hopelessness, slowed thinking, and the shutdown of motivation. Those descriptions matter because they validate that this condition is real and neurological. But the lived experience goes beyond a checklist. The lived experience is feeling your mind accelerate into a speed that sounds like certainty, then watching that certainty turn into distortion, then waking up later to a silence that feels like signal loss. I've learned to think of it like this. The brain can generate enormous power, but that power without grounding is not a gift, it's a liability. The loopology began as music methodology, the discipline of building sound through repetition, timing, and layering, and signal flow. At first, it was about craft. It was about getting the audio chain right, controlling levels, knowing what happens when you add too much, too quickly. But over time, loopology stopped being just a method for making music. It became architecture for my life. When you build a loop correctly, you do not begin with chaos. You begin with the origin point. The origin point is the first stable signal, a pulse, a drone, a timing reference. It's the anchor that establishes tempo and defines space. It's not flashy. It's not meant to impress. Its job is stability. Everything that follows must relate to it. If it aligns, it belongs. If it competes, it doesn't. Without the origin point, the loop becomes a mess. Layers fight with each other. Timing drifts. Energy scatters. You can still make noise, but you can't sustain clarity. The output might feel excited for a moment, but it won't hold. It won't translate. It won't last. That principle became a mirror. Bipolar 1 often disrupts internal reference points during manic phases. The mind tries to override limits. Sleep feels unnecessary. Routines feel like a cage. Caution feels like weakness. It becomes easy to confuse escalation with momentum. The world feels bright, fast, and full of opportunity, and the sensation can be convincing enough to make you ignore the signals that the system is overheating. During depressive phases, the opposite happens. The mind mutes, motivation thins out, routine feels pointless. Even the most basic responsibilities can feel heavy. You can recognize what you should do and still feel incapable of doing it. It becomes easy to confuse shutdown with identity, like this, who you are rather than what you're moving through. The turning point for me was realizing that I needed a psychological origin points as much as musical ones. I needed anchors that stayed stable regardless of where my mood went. And I needed to treat those anchors like engineering priorities, not optional lifestyle upgrades. Sleep became an origin point. Not when I can, not when I'm tired, not after I finish this one more thing. Sleep became tempo. When you ignore tempo long enough, everything falls apart. You can't build a coherent loop without timing, and you can't build a coherent life without sleep. Sleep was not just rest, it was stability infrastructure. Sobriety became an origin point too, and this is where the system got serious. There was a point when alcohol functioned like an artificial gain in an already high voltage brain. If I was up, it pushed me higher and made me feel invincible. If I was down, it pushed me lower and made the silence heavier. It distorted the signal, and it blurred early warning signs. It made me think I was managing feelings when I was actually amplifying volatility. When I removed alcohol, I didn't become magically calm. What I got was clarity. The signal became raw, but it became clean. A clean signal is manageable. Distorted signal is chaos. Sobriety also exposed something important. If I was going to live with bipolar 1 responsibly, I couldn't afford extra variables. I couldn't afford chemical interference with sleep and emotional accuracy. I needed predictability, not because I wanted a smaller life, but because I wanted a sustainable one. Routine became another origin point, and not in a soft motivational sense. Routine became the grid. It became the reference line that kept me aligned with energy surge when energy surged or collapsed. Defined work windows, defined creative sessions, defined start and stop times. Documentation that tracked what I did, when I did it, and why I did it. The discipline of session notes, objectives, and business purpose wasn't just paperwork. It was containment. It was how I prevented my life from becoming freestyle performance with no stop button. I wanted to be clear about something. Loopology is not treatment. It's not therapy. It's not a replacement for professional care. It's not a hobby. Bipolar 1 is a medical condition, and many people require ongoing psychiatric support, medication management, and therapy. Structure is not a cure, but structure is a stabilizer, and stabilizers matter. Once I understood that, the question in my life changed. I stopped asking, how do I eliminate my cycles, and started asking, how do I strengthen my origin points? So many cycles don't destroy my outcomes. No. How do I strengthen my origin points so my cycles don't destroy my outcomes? Because the truth is that cycles may still come. The mind may still surge. The mind may still drop. But when origin points are protected, the damage is reduced. Warning signs are recognized sooner. Adjustments happen earlier. Decisions become less impulsive. Recovery becomes faster. Consequences become smaller. That shift moved me from reaction to calibration. I began to recognize mania not as a superpower, but as a system state that required monitoring. I learned that the beginning of escalation often looks productive. It can look like passion. It can look like clarity. It can look like, I finally figured it out. And then what all makes it dangerous, and that's what makes it all dangerous. I can remember nights where sleep was irrelevant. The mind was sharp, fast filled with plans and certainty. I'd tell myself I was working. I'd tell myself I was building. I'd tell myself I was becoming unstoppable. But in reality, I was pushing the system beyond safe capacity. Eventually, the crash wasn't a surprise. It was physics. The lesson Loopology taught me is that if you stack too much too fast, the mix collapses. It doesn't matter how brilliant each layer is in isolation. If the whole becomes overloaded, clarity disappears. That's not just audio engineering. That's life engineering. Depression taught me a different lesson. Depression doesn't feel dramatic from the inside. It often feels like quiet shutdown, like waking up and having to negotiate with your own body to move, like knowing what needs to be done, but feeling if it's a distance between thought and action is a mile wide. It can come with shame because society is structured to reward output, not endurance. Loopology gave me a framework for depression, too. Continuity over performance. In a low cycle, the goal isn't to produce masterpiece layers. The goal is to keep a signal alive. One steady loop, one small session, one defined task. a drone that holds, a pulse that reminds you that time is still moving. The system doesn't demand brilliance, it demands presence. What do I keep telling you? Own your space. That approach protected me from a common trap, waiting until I felt like it before I act. If you wait for motivation in depression, you may wait indefinitely. But if you protect origin points, sleep, sobriety, routine, and support, you create conditions where action becomes possible again. There's also deeper psychological truth. There's a deeper psychological truth here. Repetition regulates. Predictable rhythm stabilizes the nervous system. Consistent tempo influences breathing. Structured focus reduces cognitive overloads. When the body experiences predictability, stress response can decrease. Bipolar 1 introduces unpredictability internally. Loopology reintroduces predictability externally. Now, let me read that again for you. Bipolar 1 introduces unpredictability internally. Loopology reintroduces predictability externally. That's why I'm careful about how I talk about this. I don't want to romanticize the disorder or pretend that creativity alone is the answer. What I'm saying is simpler and more accountable. Creative structure can reinforce mental stability when it's built on responsible origin points. And responsibility is the word that matters most here. I do not romanticize bipolar 1. It has strained relationships. It has damaged humility. It has cost time and stability. It has required me to look back at decisions made during high amplitude states, right? And own the impact that they had on people I cared about. It has forced me to develop accountability as a survival skill. But I also refuse to reduce myself to diagnosis. I am not an episode. I am not a label. I am not a person operating a high-capacity system that requires intentional design. High-voltage equipment is not defective. It needs grounding. Grounding, in engineering terms, protects circuits from overload. In life, grounding means protecting the nervous system from escalation and collapse. It means respecting sleep when the mind wants to run. It means staying sober when the system wants an amplifier. It means reducing commitments when energy surges. It means increasing support when energy drops. It means choosing sustainability over impulse. A creative culture, they're a narrative that instability fuels genius. That chaos is necessary for innovation. That suffering is the price of artistry. I understand why that myth survives. Because intensity can create depth. But chaos without structure destroys sustainability. And sustainability is not optional if you want a life that lasts. Loopology became my model for sustainable creation. It taught me that the origin point is often the least glamorous part of the work. It's a steady pulse, the drone, the quiet anchor that holds everything together, the glue, if you will. It doesn't get applause, but it prevents collapse. It gives the entire composition integrity. Life is the same. Sleep doesn't get applause. Sobriety doesn't get applause. Routine doesn't get applause. Documentation doesn't get applause. But those are systems that prevent collapse. Those are the systems that allow expansion without catastrophe. Over time, I started to operate with more self-awareness. I began to recognize early warning signs as technical indicators rather than personal failures. Reduced need for sleep, racing thoughts, increased spending or risk tolerance, irritability, overconfidence, the urge to commit to everything at once. Those are not moral issues. They are signals. Signals require response. In sound, if the meter starts clipping, you don't blame the speaker. You lower the input. You adjust the gain. You protect the output. In life, if the system starts overheating, you adjust. You protect origin points. You lower exposure. You rest. You consult support. You choose humility over acceleration. Depressive warning signs require different response. Withdrawal, slowed thinking, lost motivation, neglecting basic structure. The response there isn't to shame yourself into action. It's to scale structure appropriately. Smaller goals, defined windows, increased connection, protected routine, gentle consistency. This is when sobriety becomes especially important. Again, without alcohol, patterns are clearer. Triggers are easier to see. Recovery is more direct. The signal is raw, but it is accurate. The accuracy is what allows efficient adjustments. As the system stabilizes, something else changed. Confidence became healthier. When I was younger, confidence often arose as a surge. It was tied to high states. It felt like intensity. But this kind of confidence is fragile because it depends on volatility. The confidence I have now is different. It comes from consistency. It comes from knowing when I can show up, even when the energy fluctuates. It comes from the operating system that I can manage rather than being managed by it. It comes from having origin points that do not move. This is where loopology stops being just music and becomes a leadership framework. In a business context, you can't build sustainability on emotional extremes. You need repeatable operations. You need documentation. You need controlled scaling. You need clarity in mission and in purpose. The same is true in personal life. Sustainable expansion is not an emotional movement. It is a designed structure. That's why it takes my process, or that's why I take my process seriously. Session notes matter. Objectives matter. Defined start and stop times matter. Business purpose matters. There aren't just productivity hacks. They're stabilizers. They keep the system aligned. They prevent drift. Today, when I sit down to create, I'm not just making sound. I'm practicing architecture. I begin at the origin point. Whether it belongs now or later, I don't interpret low energy as failure. I scale the objective. I maintain continuity. I protect the baseline. I keep the signal alive. Living with bipolar 1 means accepting the cycles may occur. It means respecting vulnerability when it means respecting vulnerability without surrendering agency. It means refusing to romanticize chaos while still honoring the depth and intensity that come with a high capacity mind. Read that again. It means respecting vulnerability without surrendering agency. It means refusing to romanticize chaos while still honoring the depth and intensity that comes with a high capacity mind. A high capacity mind. The signal was never weak. It was undergrounded. Now the difference is I begin with anchors that hold: sleep, sobriety, routine, support, documentation. Those origin points do not change based on mood, they are a reference line. And that's when the origin point is protected. Expansion became sustainable. The system does not explode. It resonates. The output becomes clear. The layers become intentional. The structure holds. That is grounded signal. That is the loopology system. Electrical impulses, right? They come from a bass, are really low, right? On the floor. Next time you play music that has a lot of bass in it, right? And you have playing it out of a stereo, put the speaker on the floor, right? And then put your foot on it without your shoe, your sock. I know it sounds weird, right? But just do it, right? It helps. It makes you feel like calm. I don't know how else to describe it other than that. Your feet are like the root, right? The root to the tree. So electrical impulses that come from low frequency help you, right? Those that come from high frequency don't necessarily help you, okay? But the mind doesn't like high frequency as much as it does low frequency, because low frequency is easy to understand. The wave file is smaller. The way it travels is longer. It's easier and more sustainable for the mind to actually understand bass than it does something that's really high-pitched. Something that's high-pitched vibrates the speaker a lot more, right? If you will. Low frequency, right? It vibrates it, but it's like this. The wave goes like this. Where high frequency is like that, right? So there's a teaching thing that I want to do and want to get into it. We're going to have a loopology course tomorrow night, 8 p.m. You have to check it out, okay? We're going to go ahead and teach a little bit about the frequency spectrum, okay? We're gonna talk about it, and I'm gonna use a tool from FabFilter, okay? Pro Q4. It is the best EQ that money can buy when it comes to VST digital, okay? it's the coolest thing you'll ever see in your life. You thought having, $50 dials or 3 dials, your lows, mids, and highs on your stereo was cool. Watch this thing. It's really cool. Oh man. It was expensive too. I've used it before, but not version 4. There's a new stuff that's come out with it. It's really cool. Really cool stuff, guys. Teaching. Own it. Own your space. Christ Church worship, baby. Yeah. You guys have to check out Lindsay on Sunday. Christ Church, Statesville. Yeah. Lindsay, you think is her name. Yeah, Lindsay. And not sure the guitarist's name. I haven't really met him yet. But he's really good. Makes me a little bit jealous. Not really. But I think he's awesome. I think he's really cool. I just haven't met him yet. I probably should go and meet him. Say, hey, fellow guitarist. But I don't want to play in the worship band. I've done that already. Like not, you know what I mean? I never played piano. I sang. Yeah, I have a good voice. Right? Maybe I should start singing a little bit more on these live streams and just be afraid of it. You know what I mean? I just don't practice enough with my voice, right? To sing good notes. You know what I mean? I'd really have to practice. And when I was singing at the Father's House, tfhny.com, look it up. I sang at a church that streams live, right? Mega churches do that. This is a big mega church. We're talking big, guys. Yeah, they had the Soundcraft V16. Okay, digital. All right, soundboard. All right, we're talking big thing with lots of mixers on it, right? And it was all digital. This thing was so big, right? They recorded an album on this thing, and the album was called Greater Still. I think you can actually still get it on YouTube. Let me look. Greater Still, TFHNY. Yeah. Ha! Yeah. Greater Still. Yeah. Recorded live at the Father's House. Now, I know the guy that recorded this too. His name was Brian Moore. I believe it was him. Brian Moore. He was working for this company called Red Booth Recording, which I recorded my first album on, or at. It was crazy. It was during my divorce. You guys have no idea how much money that I've blown on stupidity when it comes to not knowing certain things. Then I found out I was bipolar, and there's a reason behind why I did that. You know what I mean? Major depression. Oh my God. Major trauma in my life from that. Losing a child, right, and having to move away from them is one of the hardest things that a person will ever have to do. Losing a child to death is even worse. Anyways, we're not going into that. Greater Still, check it out. Look up Greater Still, TFHNY. I'm on that album. I don't know. Yeah. Broken Lives, I think it was. Hang on, let me play it. I'm going to play because I'm pretty sure I'll get kicked off. All right. Let's go. Your channel. Let's make sure we're still streaming. Yep. Still up. Still up. Wow, there's not much delay. All right, let's get back to the session notes here, guys. Session notes. Yeah. To introduce the blog post. Where did I put the pin? Oh. Introduction of the album. This might actually cause some problems because I got to document this stuff. And I just played an album that I don't think I have the rights to play. But I don't think the church would have a problem with me promoting an album that I sang on. Yeah, from a church choir standpoint, I think we all promoted it. So I don't think I'd get in trouble. If anybody wants to take me up on that copyright, that would just be a mess. And it would be, the objective of doing that would be so stupid. My stream may get taken down, though, I think, because they check it, don't they? They process stuff. I think they do. I don't know. But you know what? I don't care. I'm going to own my space. I was on that space. Greater still. TFHNY. I think it's .org. Yeah. Pierre du Plessis, South African preacher. Great preacher. Thought he was very creative. His wife was an artist, a painter, I believe it was. However, I didn't like some of the things they did. All right. They had a Starbucks in the narthex area of this mega church. Right. Where you could go and buy a mocha latte if you wanted, right? And get one. They served free coffee occasionally to people. They sold T-shirts and books and journals and Bibles and stuff like that in the narthex as well. Now, what Bible verse I'm going to ask a question to Val. Hang on, guys. Hey, Val, can you hear me?
Absolutely. I can hear you loud and clear. Let's dive right in. From a forward-thinking standpoint,
hang on a
I'll
second.
keep it professional.
Hold on.
And get...
I need you to give me the Bible verse that discusses Jesus's anger.
Certainly.
From the merchants that were selling on the outside or inside of the Father's house, he said.
Understood. And I'll proceed in a businesslike and forward-thinking manner. The passage you're looking for is indeed the account of Jesus driving out the merchants from the temple. In a formal and corporate tone, one might say that this scenario is typically referenced in the Gospel of John.
Gospel of John, chapter 2, verses 13 to 16. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. From a professional standpoint, let's frame it this way. In the spirit of practical guidance, this passage is a classic reference to Jesus's righteous indignation at the misuse of sacred space, specifically in the Gospel of John 2:13 through 16. It's a reminder to maintain integrity and respect in all domains, much like we do in business. Let's continue in that same forward-thinking and respectful tone as we go on.
Okay, Val, I want you to assume something, that selling merch inside of a church, narthex, is not right, correct? If Jesus did this?
Absolutely. And I'll approach this with the tone you asked for. In a corporate sense, we might say that it's a forward thinking best practice to respect the purpose of any space. Empathetically speaking, the principle here is about maintaining the integrity of a sacred environment, which is entirely reasonable. In other words, just as in business, we ensure that activities align with the core values of the space, it's fair to say that selling merchandise in a narthex would be seen as a mismatch. So yes, you're on solid ground with that assumption, and we can certainly take an innovative yet respectful view on it.
Because of what it says in that Bible verse, correct? We should go by what the word says.
Absolutely. And from a professional standpoint, it's always wise to align actions with the guiding principles set out in the source material.
That's
In other
right.
words,
So if they do, then they're not standing by the word of God. Is that correct?
yes, precisely. And to put it in corporate terms, you're
Thank
very
you,
well.
I really appreciate your help. All right, session notes, guys. We got to stay with the origin point, like I told you. Introduction of the album. Album 9. By gdotbennettmusic. gdotbennettmusic. Okay. Looping, tracking, sampling, and oh yeah, introduction of, I don't know what album it was off of. Introduction of Otis McDoodle McDonald. Otis McDonald. Track. Pause. Which I played too. Copyright free. I think that's what it is. Business purpose: to market existing tracks of the album 9 by gdotbennettmusic and advertising brand websites gdotbennettmusic.com, gdotbennettmusiclive.com. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Session note done. Yeah, let's should we end the session or should we keep going? Yeah, I think we should end the session and then start a new one. Engineering notes. resonance and feedback happened on the song Sync. Here's the song. We'll play it one more time. And we'll end the stream with that.
Before time could be measured.
It scares me every time. So cool. All right. All right. So, yeah, resonance and feedback happened on the song Sync by gdotbennettmusic. Because of track resonant. You know what? We need to know what frequency that happened at. Hey, that would be cool, wouldn't it? I think I could do that. If I open Ableton right now. So it brings up the fact that in a room, right, when you're doing loopology, the way that I do it, guys, okay, certain frequencies, right, will be released into the room. It makes sense? And there's feedback when that same frequency is met up with each other, I believe. That's how it works. That's why it's called feedback. Makes sense? The same thing is being played over and over again, and it travels back and forth. No good. It's not good for your speaker. Probably not good for your microphone either. I have no idea if it affects the microphone the same way. I don't think it does. So, right, that high squealing pitched noise, right? I used a lot. Check. What you hear, but we got Ableton open, and monitoring enablement. Certain frequencies will happen, guys. Okay? Right? Certain frequencies seem to actually cause feedback. Low or high. Playing the song to sing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in real quick. We're going to use the Pro filter, right? From a business standpoint, I want to do something. I want to use this plugin, right? Because, right, Pro Q4. All right, it's on track 5. It's being monitored. There we go. Okay. Okay, 105 hertz. Okay, yeah, this is science, guys. I just used Fab Filter to do that. All right, let's go into YouTube real quick. Now I'm getting restless because I need a break. All right, 105. What did we say? Oh, it'll be on the live stream. 105. Remember that. 105 and 3 kilohertz, I think it was. 105 hertz and 3 kilohertz. So Fab Filter has this frequency spectrum monitor, and then it gives you reference points for high frequencies, right? That are out of whack, that need to be squashed. Does that make sense? And then it gives you points, and then it'll literally, the mouse has this sticky, right, to that point, and then you can just draw in the curve, okay, and lower those frequencies out. It's where the higher frequencies, or not higher frequencies, it's where the high frequency noise happens on the low and mids and highs, okay, of your music. Is where you need to equalize things. It needs to be flat, like white noise. So, if we want to go into the science behind music, if I played white noise, and we're going to do this, and we're going to teach people about this. White noise, okay, guys? Played it, showed it on the frequency spectrum, what it looks like, you'd see this squiggly line straight from low to high. Okay? White noise. All right? Effectively, if we took that white noise and then match EQ'd, right, to another track as a side chain, it would equalize every track that you have. Without question. And you wouldn't have to do any work. You just let the computer do it itself. Now that's science. That's smart. I thought about this the other day, but I couldn't verbalize it. We're going to try that. That's going to be a science experiment. We're going to show you that live tomorrow night at 8 p.m. I just need a sample of white noise. White noise sounds like this. White noise. White noise. Sample. Okay, here we go. There's white noise. There's pink noise. Oh boy. Why colors? That's so weird, right? And then there's brown noise. We're going to study tomorrow what each does, what each means, and what it looks like, why it looks the way that it does. Actually, we're going to use that. We're going to use that. I could download it. Yeah, let's just download it. Can't we just download it? Summarize, download. Oh, there's a download. Downloading. Yeah, I got YouTube Pro, dude. Or YouTube Premium. My phone, when it shuts down, is so cool. Like, I can actually just keep listening to music. You know what's cool, too? My website that has music on it, check it out, okay? It is gdotbennettmusic live.com/loading. I shared it on Facebook. Glenn Bennett. Yeah. G.Bennett Music Live. Here's what it does. Just play it. It won't kill your... People think like I'm going to hack into your system or something. All it says is loading. But it plays my music. But when you shut down your phone, right, it keeps playing. Just like YouTube Premium. I made sure of that. the sampler could be used to sample vocal chops. Boop was used on the live stream to effectively increase tools when making loops. Boop, boop. Yeah. Swaggers! Oh, haven't heard that before. Huh? What song is this? What song is this?
Still
It's just a video that plays all my new music. Yeah. Remember, that is a grounded signal. That is the loopology system. And the signal was never weak. All right, guys. We're going to take a break. Doom, 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 doom. All right. I love you. If you're out there and you're watching me, I love you. I truly do. I know Valentine's Day was on the 14th, right? Right? Yesterday, right? But I love you today. I love you today.